To the one who still thinks. This is not a letter for the content. Not for the complacent, nor for those who have mastered the art of pretending. It is a letter, a lament, a resistance. Written for the one who still dares to feel, to think, to ask. Who am I beneath all this noise? We live in an age where everything is called smart, yet the soul is dimmed. Where voices grow louder but meanings grow thinner. Where likes replace love, and trending replaces truth. In such a world, being human is no longer a default. It is a defiance. This letter was not written to impress. It was born from nights of restlessness, from mornings that began in silence and ended in questions. It was sculpted from real wounds, not rehearsed wisdom. Here, you will not find motivational slogans to decorate your walls. You will find confrontations. You will find mirrors. I have no intention of convincing you. But if there's even a small whisper inside you that says, this isn't what life was supposed to be, then stay, listen, and let us unlearn the machinery of this world together. Because the final chapter of the Quran is not named after angels nor after prophets. It is named after you and us, the human. So return, before you forget the way back. You may never realize that you are naked, for the whole world is stripped just the same, masked by the veil of normalization. This is the plight of our time, not the lack of clothing on human bodies, but the absence of fabric upon the mind. Without a hijab, they boastfully parade the bareness of their thoughts. People walk with unwavering confidence, gathering praise with faces painted by filters, harvesting admiration from the curves they flaunt. Yet not a soul pauses to ask, is my mind dressed at all? Naked is the flesh when stripped of its robe, yet barer still the mind, when void of reason. To unveil the shame of thought before the multitude. Unblushing is to unbind the soul from every letter writ. Though fingers impress the keyboard with restless haste, no mark is left upon the heart. The speech is hollow, the utterance profane. A duel of words, unschooled in noble form. I do not write this because I know better, but because I was once among them. I once believed that what mattered most was to be accepted by the crowd. That self-worth was measured by the number of likes, not by the honesty within, that dares to face both light and shadow. In a city that never sleeps, as if to challenge the God who himself never slumbers. In an age where some fear silence more than sin, I sat alone. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly naked, not in body, but in mind. I find myself confused. Why did I say yes? Why did I not simply refuse with a firm no? And why do I feel unsettled whenever the crowd agrees on something, while my heart, in silence, dissents? Since then, I began to write. Not to teach, nor to preach, but simply to clothe the mind once more. A mind left shivering for too long in the cold of this counterfeit culture. This is not a love story. This is not a fairy tale. It is a journal for the souls who feel something is missing, though they cannot name what fog has risen from the depths within. If you still have the strength to rise without applause, and the courage to ask questions even when you know not who will answer, then this letter is written for you. For one day the world will be crowded with people in splendid garments, yet only a few will still wear reason as their truest attire. Today I stood before the mirror. A large mirror hung upon the wall, bathed in the soft light of dawn that stirred the dust into the air. But strangely, what I saw was not my face, not my body. What I saw was something far emptier than a reflection. I saw myself. My clothes were in perfect order, my hair neatly combed, the scent of expensive perfume lingered at my neck, and my smile appeared convincingly warm. Yet somehow, within that mirror, I beheld something the naked eye could never catch. A living body, with a mind hollow of meaning. We live in an age where appearance has replaced character. A time when many race to become beautiful, yet so few strive to become truthful. People compete to wear designer clothes, luxury shoes, and branded labels, but forget to wear their minds before making decisions. They memorize wise quotes for their social media bios, yet grow deaf to the sound of their hearts. They fear being judged by strangers on the internet, but never fear being deemed ignorant by their conscience. I was once the same, draped in garments stitched by the system, tailored by trends, and sized according to the algorithm. In that phase of stagnant thought, I spoke not out of will, but because my soul had surrendered itself as a hostage to the clichés of the times. I shared, not because I had something to offer, but because I feared being seen as irrelevant. I wore clothes that were never mine. And before that mirror, I knew I was impersonating a human being. I was not myself, merely performing roles borrowed from characters parading across phone screens, people whose true selves I never truly knew. Perhaps I was enamored by false personas, enchanted by illusions, as if bewitched by some Siamese shaman's curse. The mirror does not know how to lie. It cares nothing for style. It reflects only the truth. And that day, I saw clearly. Everything that glittered upon me was nothing more than an illusion. A mask made of false fabric. Layers upon layers, not to heal ignorance, but to hide it. I began to ask myself, what meaning is there in being fully dressed, if my soul stands naked, stripped of principle? The world has turned mankind into mannequins, moved by numbers, comments, and notifications. And behind it all, there is but one true director: fear. Fear of being left behind, fear of being disliked, fear of being ignored by society, and worst of all, fear of becoming our true selves. From that fear, we began to wear clothes that rightfully belonged to someone else. In that moment, I stripped everything away, not my clothes, but my ego. I recognized my reliance on external validation, which prompted a pivotal decision. I sought to cultivate my mind, not for the sake of others' approval, but to reveal the truth within myself. This journey was sparked not just by a desire for knowledge, but by a deep yearning for understanding. I committed to embracing silence, not out of fear, but because true silence reflects a mind engaged in profound contemplation. My aim was to embody awareness, rather than chase passing trends, valuing truth over popularity and honesty over pretense. It struck me that while society may view a bare body as shameful, a bare mind is an even greater affliction to the soul, and only those brave enough to face the empty mirror will ever come to know how deeply we have lost ourselves. For the true clothing of a human being is not worn upon the body, but resides in a quiet conscience, in what we choose to believe and what we choose to fight for in this life. I once believed the city was the heart of intellect, with its towering buildings, lights that never sleep, and faces that seemed busy, as if each moment held urgent purpose. But the longer I lived within it, the more I came to see. This city is not what it seems. It is merely busy. Busy running, chasing, performing, and imitating. Yet the most frightening part is not the busyness itself, but the truth that most who are running have no idea where they're going. Today, I walked among them. People with phones in hand, ears plugged with music or voices not their own, eyes fixed to screens, mouths repeating words that never sprouted from their own minds. I saw a man at a cafe, dressed in fine clothes, his watch gleaming. He spoke loudly, with polished terms and jargon. But as I sat closer, I knew it was all a script. Someone else's words, copied and pasted like a parrot dressed in designer skin. This city is crowded with heads, yet hollow. Not empty from lack, but from the fear of thinking for oneself. Everyone wants to go viral, but no one dares to become a critical thinker. Everyone longs to be adored, but few are willing to be condemned for the sake of truth. Everyone wants to be clever, fast, but none are eager to learn, slowly. This city is like a library without books, vast, busy, magnificent, but void of meaning. I was once lost within it. I was once one of those hollow heads. I memorized facts but never digested their meaning. I recited motivational quotes, but never asked myself, are these words truly meant for me? I was a factory-made product, shaped, arranged, labeled, then packaged for the world. My soul had lost the voice that once lived quietly in my own heart. And when I finally awakened, I no longer craved to be pleasing just to be accepted. I longed, instead, to be sane enough to live. Have you ever felt this way? That your words were merely echoes of something you watched the night before? Was that your smile that you were forced to wear? Are your choices made out of fear, not out of true understanding? If so, then you know what it feels like to live in this city, dressed to perfection, yet with a hollow mind, devoid of essence. Now, I no longer run from my truths after finally facing them. I've chosen to slow my steps deliberately, and in that stillness, I began to see. To see that life is not a race, but a journey meant to be lived, not rushed. And only those who walk with reason will reach the destination that matters. Most people see life as a marathon, the swift pushing forward with all their might, leaving the slow behind. The slow clawing forward, even if it means pulling others down. But know this, not everyone is part of that race. Some choose not to run. They sit in the corner to analyze the crowd. So let me say it once more, so that whoever reads this will not forget. A naked body can be clothed, but an empty mind will go on undressing your humanity, piece by piece. You can see the signs in the comment sections, typed by third-class mentalities, in both speech and behavior, or in the way some treat others as if kindness were a burden. And in this city, I have chosen no longer to be part of the statistics of those pretending to be busy. I want to be one distinct mind, a head veiled in thought, different from the rest, marked by inner character, and most of all, not a copy of those fake personas that parade across social media, even if it means walking alone among thousands who remain hollow. Once, mankind worshipped God. Then, they worshipped kings. After that, they worshipped money. And now, they worship trends. Yes, trend. The new religion without a scripture, requiring no faith, no thought, just blind imitation, just mimicry of behavior, just obedience to the rules of an app. Today, those who dare to resist the trend are mocked as outdated. Those who refuse to follow the current are called left behind, and those who still hold on to principle are ridiculed as having a Stone Age mentality. How ironic. Old religions asked us to submit to the all-knowing, but this new one demands we bow to whatever is most viral. What is true is condemned. What is false becomes the norm. As long as it's loud, as long as it's crowded, as long as it entertains, then all is well. I once believed I was free. But I've come to realize the freedom offered in this age is merely the freedom to choose which trend you wish to obey. You are not truly free. You're simply choosing which dog leash perfectly fits around your neck. Today, people dance not out of joy, but to beg for digital gifts. Today, people curse not out of anger, but because they're filming content. Now, it is whatever's trending that decides who will be praised and who will be discarded. Substance doesn't matter. Reason doesn't matter. What matters is whether the masses follow and cheer. A crowd largely of the same mindset, cut from the same shallow cloth. Trend is a religion, one that demands daily offerings. It consumes your time, your attention, and eventually, your soul. And when you bow to it for too long, you begin to forget who you were before the next season of trends arrives. I once forgot. I changed the way I dressed, not out of principle, but out of fear that I would not be accepted. I changed the way I spoke, not because it was true, but because I feared being called boring. I changed my opinions, not because I understood, but because I wanted to remain embraced by the crowd. I had worshipped the trend, and I realized it never promised paradise. All it gave me was restlessness, the anxiety that I must keep changing, before I ever had the chance to become someone truly, authentically myself. I've begun to see people as machines, operated by invisible buttons. When trends shift, they follow. When a louder voice declares, "This is wrong," they fall silent. When the viewer count drops, they panic. But what's even more tragic, they do not realize they are being enslaved by this new religion. Like cattle with pierced noses, they are led. sacrificial offerings awaiting slaughter when the festive season arrives. Now, I take a breath. And I choose to renounce the religion of trend. I refuse to bow to what is fleeting. I want to believe again that value is not defined by views or numbers, but by the depth of meaning within. I want to write not because it's trending, but because it is true. I want to be silent, not out of defeat, but because I am building depth and thought. And if tomorrow they say I've been left behind, so be it. For I'd rather walk slowly, guided by reason, than move swiftly, dragged by ignorance. Trend only wants your obedience, then abandons you once its expiration date arrives. But the mind leads you to places untouched by passing seasons. I understand that this path is a quiet one. I know the world will keep racing in the opposite direction. But I choose to remain here, because I know that truth never bows to the current of falsehood. It stands firm, even if it must stand alone. In this age, human beings have lost the ability to speak with themselves. Because each morning, life begins with a single question. What should I show today? Not, what should I learn? Or, what must I correct within myself? But rather, what should I display so others will believe I am still alive? At a cafe, a small table, a warm cup of coffee, and a line of people glued to their smart devices. Some smile at their screens, not at other human beings. Some laugh alone, then quickly record the expression to post as a story. But to my eyes, all of it is a mask, worn in the form of a metaphor. People today display everything. Their meals, their bodies, their partners, their beliefs, their sorrows, even their prayers. Anything that can be turned into spectacle is traded like currency. But the rarest thing of all is the unveiling of who they truly are. I've learned one thing about humanity. They fear looking like a failure more than they fear being one. They fear being called ignorant more than they fear living in unconscious ignorance. They fear being disliked more than losing themselves in the performance of pretending. So they display. They expose skin, flaunt style and wealth, flash rehearsed smiles perfected in the mirror, because that is easier than facing their wounds. It is faster than healing. It is more accepted by the algorithm. And they don't realize they are becoming artificial templates, characters crafted for an audience, not human beings living for their truth. And so I asked the mirror, who am I, when no one is watching? Silence. Even the mirror of wisdom offered no reply. Because the answer to that question can only be born from the deepest chambers of the soul, not from the screen, not from the count of likes, not from hollow praise.